Joyous greetings, everyone. Welcome to Law and Life Matters with South African Black Women in Law. Today we have Advocate Koketso Choeu. We are going to be asking him and interviewing him about his legal journey, his legal career, and how he came about to be an advocate at such a young age, because I know you probably get, those kind of questions.
Yeah.
So before we start, I'm going to ask Advocate Koketso Choeu to just give us a brief background about himself. Over to you.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Lerato. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to just share a bit of my journey on becoming an advocate. Ironically, you'll laugh when I tell you this, but what actually inspired me to become a lawyer initially was a TV show by the name of Sukulu and Partners, very old, back in 2009 or something. I was doing grade 8, grade 9 in high school, and I really liked the TV show, and I kept on asking my parents, who are these people, what are they doing, and explain, no, these are lawyers, they're in court. Okay, they look like they people that help other people, and I did a bit of, researching and asking around, parents, uncles, relatives, in terms of what a lawyer is, what they do, and how they help people. And after that, I became almost obsessed about becoming a lawyer. I even studied history in high school just because of somebody told me that this might help me become a lawyer in high school. I went to Windywwood High School. I started studying there when 2007 or 2008, around there, and I finished my matric in 2011. And yes, in 2010 and 2011 I looked for different varsities to apply to, and fortunately I was able to get accepted at UNISA, but I started with UNISA in the second semester. So yes, I started studying with UNISA. Initially I studied with what's called a varsity college. Varsity college, they tutored for UNISA in a way. My parents realized it was very expensive. They said, you can't. So they told me that, no, look, you need to study full-time with UNISA, do it yourself. And I said, no, it's fine. At first it was extremely hard, difficult, but I said, no, it's fine. I said I wanted to do this, and my mother never raised a quitter, so I need to push through. And so I started to go more to the Sunnyside campus at UNISA, because of my mother works close to that one. Yeah, so I'd go every morning with her, go to campus, study, find a study hall to study in, open my books, and I would study there. So what really got me to be a bit more serious with my studies was a competition I came across known as Moot Court. Yes, and Moot Court, I remember the first time I started coming to campus around 2013, I think. Then I realized I just missed the presentations for that year, and I was so bummed out that this looked like a very exciting activity to be involved in. And I said, you know what, next year I'm going to make sure that I apply and see where this thing goes. And yeah, I applied to UNISA's Moot Court program in 2014. I was, as you can probably see, I was the one with the baby face amongst everybody. So I was supposedly the youngest. Most of the people were doing Moot Court, were doing the second last year or the final year. So it was quite nerve-wracking, intimidating, with the baby face going. Everybody's like, this one, what is it doing? And but yeah, it was a very good character building experience. And once I started doing it, I was actually the team leader for my Moot Court team, and I actually got quite a bit of leadership skills and experience through that. And when we won, it was quite an exciting feeling. And I soon realized that no, I need to be more active as a varsity student. And that's exactly what I did. I went and joined UNISA's Law Student Association. It's a law student structure. I joined it and eventually became one of the leaders for the Tshwane region as a marketing officer. And in the same year, I was also introduced to an organization called Black Lawyers Association Student Chapter, which I later went on to become deputy secretary of that branch, and then also a chairperson of the same branch, and eventually also the national spokesperson of the same structure. And through all of these things, one was able to be more proactive in terms of my life as a student, and able to network with other law students and expose myself, and it in a way made me more serious with my studies because of in such spaces you so much you forced to get in contact with attorneys, with advocates, sometimes even judges, and it's intimidating. You're like, this person, because of they're larger than life to you, especially as a law student. But it's almost like a reassuring way in terms of when you interact and you're able to hold your own with these people, that no, this is where I'm supposed to be, and it was just one of the many activities I did while being a law student. So one of the activities that greatly enforced my decision in terms of becoming an advocate was representing students at disciplinary hearing cases. Yeah, I did that for quite a long time. I was initially mentored by somebody who's a good friend of mine now. He's also an advocate now. His name is Advocate Koketso, and he's now an advocate at the Johannesburg Bar. And he did also a lot of that. He represented students at disciplinary hearing cases. He took me on as somebody to observe at a couple of his sessions, and it was quite interesting. And he said, "No, look, try it. Maybe you like it." I did it the first time, so nervous, sitting in front of a panel, knowing that you have a student's life in your hands, because of if you lose a case, and being a representative, a student can get suspended for as long as even 5 years. And unfortunately, you can't say that, I'm sorry, it was my first time. They say no, but I trusted you. But the more and more I got to do it, the more and more I got to have more of a self-belief in myself in terms of representing people and understanding the application of law, knowing and understanding that law isn't about simply provisions from legislation or common law. Or even the constitution of our country. It's about understanding the interests of justice at play, understanding what it means to have an active part in playing in ensuring that justice prevails. And through representing students, students who are my own peers, who had their own situations, who were in the wrong and who were also in the right, it was an opportunity for me to grow and really be more serious about understanding the fact that being a lawyer is not simply about wearing a suit and looking all nice, attending TV or radio interviews, whatever the case may be. Being a lawyer is really about helping people. That's why it is called an honorable profession. And if you do not understand it's an honorable profession, then that's where the challenges come. That's where you'll hear all of these people, or legal practitioners, getting disbarred from stealing from their clients. And when a client sees you, they see you as somebody who's there to help them, and they have to, bare their soul, so to speak, almost like a priest. Somebody once jokingly told me that actually a priest, one of the priests at my church, He told when I told him that no, I'm a law student, and I told him I'm in my final year. He said, "Oh, Musu, you're in a very honorable profession because of you'll soon be having people's secrets that you have to bear with, and they'll be able to tell you that look, I did this, I did 1, 2, 3 ABC. Can you help me?" You see, and it's really about that. It's really about helping people. So yeah, that's just generally my journey. So that's how I was as a law student. I was quite active, very active in ensuring that students get assisted, especially law students, that one is also able to grow, not just as a leader, but as an individual who understands the important role that a legal practitioner has to play in our country and in society as a whole. And so yes, that's essentially my journey. So in my final year, because of I graduated during the year, because of the nature of UNISA as it is, I started working at a law firm called Chaya Mashabela Attorneys. It's a boutique intellectual property law firm. I had the honor and opportunity of working with the first, I think she's the first or one of the first black female IP practitioners. Dumelo Mashabela. She's an patent attorney. She's considered as many as one of the first black IP attorneys. She worked at quite a number of firms before she had started her own firms, including Adams and Adams and Sport and Fisher. So through working with her, I think I worked for her for a year or so, yeah. And I worked with her for quite a bit of time as an intern, and I learned so much when it comes to IP, intellectual property, and I sort of molded my craft in terms of understanding IP and how it works, from registering a trademark to how the registration of patents work, to even domain names and many other aspects of intellectual property law. At one point I also worked as an assistant lecturer at UNISA.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I was a postgrad assistant who sort of plays the role of acting as an assistant lecturer, and I did that while I registered my current masters. I'm currently busy with masters in mercantile law, with focusing on intellectual property law and domain name law. So yeah, I'm registered with UNISA, so I'm currently busy with that masters, and hopefully this year, by the grace of God, I'm able to complete it.
By the grace of God.
Yes, by the grace of God. To God be the glory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a bit about me, and I recently got admitted. I was admitted as an advocate at Pretoria High Court. When was it? In February, 22nd of February, I believe. Yeah, I was admitted, and it's been a rough journey, but a lot of learning, a lot of growing, a lot of understanding of oneself. But every time you take a case and you're able to deal with clients, you almost have a sense of reassurance that this is where I belong, this is what I'm meant to do, this is what I was born to do. Yeah.
Wow, that was so inspiring. Like, there was a point where you were speaking about varsity college.
Yes.
I, for one, I have experience because I was at varsity college,
Yes.
and my mom was just like, girl, it's too expensive, because they were paying for both varsity college but not with UNISA, with the University of Free State. So it was kind of just like it was too much. So she was like UNISA, and I'm like, I have no choice.
Yeah.
And so I guess I resonate with that kind of experience that you had.
Yeah.
It was very inspiring. You've actually been on a very, I don't want to say rough, but eye-opening journey, if I should put it. One of the questions here, actually the first question was basically why you studied law, but because you mentioned the whole Sukuli and partners, you got inspiration from that. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's clear that you got your inspiration from the TV show. I think most of us get it. I mean, I for one, I like watching Suits,
Yes.
so and Prison Break, and the kind of shows that just kind of, I can do this. If they can do it through TV, then I can do it in real life.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So it's very inspiring. You also described that you had positions in your varsity years. So I'm not going to ask you that question because you actually spoke about it in your background. But what I want to ask you is, in retrospect, would you say that you were strictly focused on your academic life, or you were spreading yourself across other aspects of your growth?
I think it's important not to purely focus on your academics alone. Reason being, through my studies and through also spreading myself out, so to speak, in terms of being involved in all these different varsity activities, I learned it's important to do that, because unfortunately our field of law is quite competitive. It's extremely competitive. It doesn't require you purely to focus on just law. Not necessarily just law, but just on your studies alone. I mean, let me just put it rather bluntly, but my black brothers and sisters, we don't get told this a lot, but maybe perhaps I should state it because it's something I picked up during my years of study, I think in my second or third year, is that when a law firm hires you, or when you get a potential job opportunity, whatever the case may be, they're not just looking for somebody who just went and got a degree and that's it. They want somebody who has a bit of experience, who's shown some sort of initiative to make themselves different from the rest. I mean, some traditional, let me rather say, quite a number of young people who are white, they actually get told this a lot, that in your first year, please don't make the mistake of not doing vocational.
Yeah.
We don't get told that a lot because of 8 times out of 10 when us as black people, as African, we get inspired to become lawyers. It's through a TV show, it's through an uncle and a relative, whatever the case may be. And most parents do like the children going on to become lawyers because of, they see Mang who's an uncle, they say, hey, that man, he's driving the latest Benz, he's happening, can you see the suits, can you see, they look, but they don't know how they got there. And this profession can be quite rough.
Yeah.
It can be quite rough. I mean, I was just having this conversation a few weeks ago with another friend of mine, Advocate Koketso Choeu. She's an advocate from Pretoria Bar, where she was saying it's people most students don't understand that you actually need to really make sure that you go the extra mile. And I say this not just from a UNISA perspective, but from any varsity ready perspective. You need to take the extra mile in terms of making sure that you become the best lawyer that you can be. You need to take your studies as serious as possible, as early as possible. Because of by the time you get to final year or even graduate and you're offered maybe a business opportunity, or you're looking for business for business and also rather not business but rather employment opportunity, the first thing people ask is
Vacation work.
Not even vacation work. What have you done? We see your little bit in front of you, whether it's a cum laude or not. But what else do you have to offer as an individual? If my firm today hires you, what's different from you and the 50 other people that are applying for the same job? And we don't take that into consideration, a lot of us young black people. We just think that, look, if I can attend lectures,
Get my degree,
get your degree, do your assignments, pass well, I'll be good. I will see myself as a Harvey Specter from Suits or Mike Ross or whatever the case may be. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. You know, you need to really make sure that you grow. So I think it is important to stretch yourself a little bit. Of course, in the space of law, you know, and try to see what more can you do.
Not just to conform to just like the studies.
Exactly. You need to say that, okay, what other extra things can I do? What things can I apply for? Can I attend a lecture at a law firm? You know, can I attend some sort of law student gathering, whatever the case may be? What am I doing that's a bit extra? Because these questions that get asked when you're
interview.
When you're at an interview, and you don't want to just sit there and be pretty and be like, oh no, I'm Koketso.
Just studied law.
Yeah,
and that's
so
it.
please hire me. It's not necessarily like that. You really need to go the extra mile, and so that's something I've learned. You need to just push, keep on pushing. I mean, I remember in my final year, I got the opportunity to be a mentee to Madam Judge Margaret Victor from the South Gauteng High Court in Joburg. And I learned that a lot, you know. There'll be things, for example, you'd be expected to do, say, if you were to give a judgment for a case, what would it say? What structure would it be? What case law do you think would be relevant? How would you phrase things? And, you know, you learn these things. This is exactly what you need to think about if you were to become an advocate or even an attorney. When I'm giving a legal opinion, how should I structure it? How should I phrase it? What am I talking about? When I say that, when I'm discussing prescription, how am I really framing my words? So you do need to stretch yourself. You do need to stretch yourself as much as possible in order to be the best possible version of yourself.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I'm also learning. You know, not to just. I mean, I'm almost towards the end, but you know, I can always also just go an extra mile. You know, just to make sure that when I go, I mean, it's already too late for one to do. I don't know if it's already too late for one to do vacation work, but I mean, at fourth level,
it's not. Go for it. Go for it. As long as you haven't obtained your degree, go for it, because of it will count. It will count that month even that you will do vacation work for.
But it's not easy to get it at fourth level. Usually it's around not. First or second.
That was my point, because not enough people are told that or conscientized that. I know that through my own personal experience interacting with the law students, because of while I was a student leader, so to speak, I interacted with a lot of students. And not just from UNISA in Pretoria, but almost all over the country, from University of Limpopo, University of Johannesburg, even University of Western Cape. I interacted with a lot of different students, and it's something that actually doesn't come up a lot. It's something that people don't even think about. But vacation work, really, no. It's not. I mean, if you don't get told it by family people, or at least aren't told it during your lecturing sessions at maybe at a traditional university, then it's difficult for the idea to even come to mind that I actually need to go that far and say, no, look, I need to apply and all of that. Now, I'm not saying these opportunities will jump to your lap or anything. No, they're not easy.
Competitive also, like you said.
Very competitive. It's very competitive, but one needs to just try. One needs to try. Send to 100 different firms if you need to, if you can. Try to just put yourself out there, and you never know where God will put you.
We just put our trust there. So I think you basically touched on this question in your background. How did you decide in terms of the route to follow after obtaining your LLB degree? I think you mentioned briefly about how you wanted to help people.
Yes.
I think that was one of the things that I picked up from why you decided to go the advocacy route.
Yes.
So if you can just elaborate further into that.
Yeah, no problem. I did. Because of what I'd learned in terms of one becoming an advocate, or not even just becoming an advocate, but any profession really. If you really want to know if something is what you are meant to do, what you feel you're born to do, is your God-given purpose, your life's purpose, go and do it for free. If you really want to know. Because I know we go to school to get our qualification, whether it's to become a lawyer or to become an engineer, whatever the case may be, to go and earn an income so then we can also help at home, we can also uplift ourselves, we can also, drive that Porsche, that Porsche Cayenne or Porsche Cayman or something, or Bentley or whatever. But if you really want to know if something is born, it's what you're born to do, go and do it for free, go and do it well, and go and spend hours on it without anybody asking you to do it. You almost feeling like you need to do it, like you wouldn't be able to breathe if you weren't able to do this. That's when you'll know. I got the opportunity ironically through Sabwil, to interact with an advocate by the name of Advocate Koketso Choeu. He's an advocate who is a member of the Johannesburg Bar. Very nice guy. He gave me an opportunity to do research for a couple of his cases, and particularly some pro bono cases. I remember when I helped him with the case, and he actually agreed with the reasoning that I was coming with on how to win the case, and how he was able to say that, no, look, I think you just might have potential in this particular profession. And that happening over and over. And the reason why I mentioned this is because of these things were done for free. You understand? Yeah. And when I applied some of the stuff I learned from Advocate Koketso, and amongst other people that I interacted with, like Advocate Person Tombeni, and I did it for free, and I did it a lot. I did it while balancing studies. I did it while balancing student leadership roles. I spent hours in preparation for it, and I did it over and over and over again for free. I realized this is what I would like to do. Of course, we'd all like to earn extremely well from our profession. But my point that I'm trying to drive across is that a lot of people become money driven in terms of the particular profession they pick. And it's a problem because of you can end up getting a profession, for example, of being a doctor or being an engineer, and you get lots of money from it. You could get millions from it. And there will be days where it'll be difficult because of you won't always be doing the fun stuff of appearing in court. There will be days where you have to just read lots of case law. You have to read 10, 20, 30 cases just to make one point in an argument. There will be days where you have to do stuff that you consider boring, where you'll have to read books like these over and over again, paging through, trying to get something that makes sense for a case, for example. And that's when the passion comes into play. That's when you really get a sense of, I can do this, because of that's what will drive you. Is having a sense of purpose. Yeah, not just passion, because of passion can be there when you're in front of a judge and you laying out your points and he's agreeing with you, but purpose comes from the preparation for having that such a presentation. So yes, that's
wow.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I also sometimes, whenever I have to study and make a point, like for an assignment, and I have to make just one point, I need to go through so many sources in order for me just to, pin it back to my arguments or whatever that I want to say. It's something, but I guess we are learning from you to say, if you find your purpose, you will do something wholeheartedly. and without even like looking, am I going to get paid for this? You know, you do it genuinely with your heart.
Yes.
I don't know. Do you? What are the challenges that maybe you might have faced during you transitioning to become an advocate?
A lot.
Can you just maybe?
I can just
name a few.
I can name quite a number of things. Look, there's a lot of challenges that I faced with being in the profession. For starters, when you get a case, whether you're charging whatever rate, whether it's a daily rate or an hourly rate, you're doing it with your own money. Preparation is with your own money. Printing, the suit you wear, everything is your own money. It's your own money. It's the same as becoming a candidate any. It's your parents. They're saying that they're the ones who are going to help you get your first suit, get your first pair of shoes that you need to wear, look proper. It's you. You have to put in that effort. It's only then after you've done with the case, you charge the client, or rather in my instance, you charge the attorney that you're working with. It's only then you get paid. So there's that. There's transporting yourself to get from A to B. You know, whether it's somewhere ridiculously far, like for example, Karangu.
Sure.
And knowing I need to be there by 8. I live in Midrand.
Sure.
Imagine what time you have to wake up to make sure that you're
on
there
time.
on time. You're there to attend to the case. And so there's that me person, but that's just something everybody faces. Me personally, maybe my baby face. Maybe my baby face.
Is there a problem?
Yeah, like people can like. I remember when I was buying my Advocate attire, and the lady was there and was like, "Oh, okay," and I had to get the smallest because I'm really short, and so she was like, "Oh, okay, you're buying this? Yes, I'm buying it. Can you please?" And I had to make sure I come back with a shirt so it can fit properly. And she said, "Okay, so are you buying this for like an uncle or?" I said, "No, I'm buying it for me. You sure you're not like doing your first year or second year or something?" And I said, "No, it's me. I can show you my degree if you want." But yeah, no. All jokes aside, I think generally a lot of people, young people, especially in the profession, can face is having people who are much older than you take you seriously in your work. But that's when your work ethic has to come through, and we're able to make a good presentation. And when anybody talks to you about a particular aspect of the law, to show them and make sure that they understand that you do know what you're talking about. You are somebody that can handle this case. You are somebody that's going to win this case. So I think that it's essentially that, because of our profession it has a lot of people who are quite advanced in years, so to speak, that are running it, and there's always a constant, when you somebody young in this profession, there's always a constant need to make sure that people can take you seriously, and that you're able to present yourself well. You know,
your work speaks for you.
Yes, and your work speaks for you. Yeah. So whenever people look at my baby face, I jokingly like to say, "No, I'm a baby face assassin." So,
my baby face aside.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What is the most important lesson that carries you through this entire process?
Life lesson, I think, is that to understand, not to forget yourself. No matter how accomplished you can be, not to forget yourself, not to forget your roots, not to forget home. Being a student leader has provided me with a lot of opportunities. it's assisted me with networking with lots of people. It's even gotten me to represent UNIS as a student academic representative at the BRICS Legal Forum, I think in 2018. Yeah, and there I got to interact with not just lawyers from here in the country but also overseas, but what you constantly learn is that you need to not forget your roots. Not forget your roots, not forget home, not forget who you are.
I agree.
Yeah. It's easy
to get lost in the whole.
Yeah, it's easy to lose yourself. It's quite easy to lose yourself and have somewhat of a big head. But something you need to understand as an individual, whenever you start something new, it's back to square one. It's back to square one. It's back to you being a junior, a fresher, so to speak, like in university. And you have to prove yourself. And another thing is that you never, ever, ever go and belittle another person. Yeah. Because of this life thing, it's short, but it's also very long. It's also very long. Today, somebody's facing a very hectic financial challenges, who has a serious problem, who doesn't have a meal to eat, who's sleeping hungry, not having a meal because they didn't have a meal for the whole day, because of at home there's no food, there's no water, there's no electricity. They could be living in a shack. In 5 years or 10 years, that person could be a multi-millionaire. So this life thing, it's quite short. You should never treat somebody badly. That's why I jokingly said before we started this thing that I might be an advocate today, but I'm just like you are, because I've been where you are right now. I've been a law student. I've been through challenges like that. I've went through those challenges of not having a meal at home. Where there's no electricity, not because of load shedding, but because of the electricity situation. Because of the situation, because of there's no money to pay electricity this month. And you need to understand that anything can happen, so yeah, it's really like that. It's really like that. So but yeah, so you always need to keep your feet on the ground. It's something the advocate who represented my admission told me. Advocate Peter Makambeni, yes, you know him, yes, Advocate Makambeni. He was the advocate who represented me, and he jokingly told me when I was getting admitted, Koketso, please don't go around when people refer to you as Mr. and say, no, I'm Advocate Koketso, please don't do that. Remain, you if you do that, you don't know me. So yeah, it's something a lot of people around me have constantly reminded me, and I've also
always be humble.
Yes, try to keep your feet on the ground. When you see another person, whether they're black or white, no matter if they're not wearing shoes, if whatever the case may be, see another person as a person, because of that's what Ubuntu is all about. That's us as Africans. I believe greatly in Pan-Africanism, and our Pan-African roots is that when you see another person, you must see them as you see yourself. As you love yourself, you must also be able to love another person. Do not put yourself on a pedestal. Yes. Even if people put you on a pedestal, but don't just do that. Remain. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep your feet on the ground. Yeah,
I can definitely resonate with that. As you can see, the situation that just happened. Hey, just always just keep humble. Humble beginnings.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
What do you hope to achieve during the span of your career?
I think to help people, help as many people as possible, with my profession. Hopefully to change the law, to influence the law. I think that's every lawyer's dream is to actually set precedents in a particular aspect or part of the law. But yeah, ultimately is to help people, is to be a positive force in society as a whole. Yeah, there's no point in getting opportunity to study law and to become a lawyer, to become an advocate, and not helping people, because of if you're not able to be a positive force in society as a whole, then essentially all the investment, all the money put into you, all the good advices, all the guidance that you've had with mentors, with your family, with friends, or whoever has been a positive force in your life, it's all to waste if you cannot go out and help people. It's all a waste.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
This interview is something. Hey. Okay, one last question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for aspiring legal practitioners out there? Anything, word of advice, anything that could be, that they can take with them?
I think essentially, firstly, make sure this is what you want. And it's not
an influence, or
I wasn't going to say an influence, but rather it's not a fairy tale picture in your head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of, like I said, this is a very difficult and competitive profession. Make sure this is what you want. Because I have seen a lot of peers who aren't sure if this is what they want. I've had peers, even people who went on and graduated in practice, who aren't sure if this is what they want, because it can be really difficult. It can be. It's really difficult. Chambers, for example, as an advocate, they can be extremely expensive. Some chambers are like 11,000 a month. Yeah. Some, here in Joburg and Sandton, really expensive. They can be double that a month. And so make sure this is really what you want, because of it's not all a bed of roses, so to speak. It's not necessarily suits where you'll be wearing a fancy suit and
walk in the corner office.
Yeah, you have your cup of tea ready. It's not all a bed of roses. Sometimes it's hard. It's ridiculously hard. It's sometimes it's a lot of the times it can be sleepless nights.
Draining.
Can be draining, physically, emotionally, psychologically. It requires you to have a strong head, to be strong-willed. When you're dealing with a case where somebody literally has nothing, where you are the last hope, and you fail, that can be difficult. That can be difficult. When you're dealing with a very emotionally draining case, where you're dealing with a case that has to do with family law, where it has to deal with children, can be emotionally draining. And I picked that up just from disciplinary hearing cases where I was representing people who did this qualification so they can literally earn an income, so they can make a better life for themselves, or even for their children, or whoever they need to support, their qualification is everything. And that's just an example with that. Now imagine with the case where they might be facing criminal charges, they might be facing a lawsuit, whatever the case may be. So it's not just, you know, charging somebody for 1,000 rand an hour, whatever the case may be. It can be also emotionally draining. There can be a lot of intimidation because some people aren't as nice as I am. They're not nice. They're people who want to intimidate you, know, all of that. So you need to be prepared for that. So it's really about them finding out if this is what they really want. It's to really constantly have self-introspection. If this is what they want, I would say that. And once you are certain it's what you want, put in 100% effort into getting it.
Wow.
Work day and night, work weekends, work almost every day if you can. I'm not saying you should play hard. Yeah, no, play hard when you get the opportunity to, and have fun, especially being a young person. But when it comes time to work, put in the work, put in the time, put in the effort. Make sure that when your time is done here on this earth and God calls you, that you would have left your mark. Because of that's ultimately what you want. You would have left your mark. So, yeah.
Wow. This interview was very so inspiring. Like, you really just left me short of words.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm gonna call you Koketso and not Advocate because
it's okay. That's the name my parents gave me. So.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you can just tell us your social media handles, your Instagram handle or your Facebook page.
All right. Okay. I'm on Facebook. I'm Koketso Choeu. Also Instagram.
Koketso Choeu. No underscore. No.
Yeah, it's just Koketso Choeu. Also on Twitter, it's just Koketso Choeu.
LinkedIn,
yes, I am. Okay, that's the only place where I've written it. Advocate Koketso Choeu.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Advocate Koketso Choeu for LinkedIn.
Yes.
And Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's just Koketso Choeu.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank our viewers for joining us. You can join us on our social medias. On Facebook and LinkedIn, we are South African Black Women in Law, Sabwil. On Instagram, we are at Sabwil Alumni. On Twitter, we are at Sabwil with a capital S, Sabwil Alumni. And on YouTube, we are just Sabwil. Please like, subscribe, share, and do all the nitty-gritties that's done on the social media platform. Thank you so much for joining us, Koketso, and it was a pleasure to have you here today.
No problem. The pleasure was all mine.
Thank you.
The pleasure was all mine.